To start. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Chorleywood Bookshop Zoom event with the best-selling international superstar Andy Griffiths. Andy has created the Treehouse series, and we're now up to 130-story treehouse. There'll be lots of opportunity to ask questions. So please, if you'd like to ask a question, put it through the Q&A chat button or the chat button at the bottom of the bar. I'm sure you're all very familiar with it now, and we'll be taking questions. The sillier, the funnier, the better. We love lots of fun. We love lots of fun. So Andy, welcome. I'd like to start off by saying, can you tell us a little bit more about the Treehouse?
Certainly. Let me see, where did we start? We started with 13 stories 10 years ago now. Terry and I have worked together for actually about 25 years. We've done a lot of books together over many, many years. And one day we were working on a book. It was going to be called The Very, Very Bad Book. And we kind of ran out of very, very bad ideas. And I said to Terry, let's write a book about, we'll write a really bad book, and the whole book will be about why we can't write the book. And we'll just kind of waste the reader's time making terrible excuses the whole time. And we'll be in it. Like, I'll be there trying to get the book written. You'll be there messing around, and we'll live in a treehouse. And I said, it's going to be a bad treehouse. It'll be a badly designed one. It'll have a bowling alley in the branches, and bowling balls will fall out of the lane and hit people on the head who are walking past, and they'll die. And that'll be funny. And then we'll have a tank full of man-eating sharks, so that everyone who comes to visit our treehouse will be in danger of falling into the shark tank, because there won't be any safety rails, and there won't be nothing sensible, like it's an anti-treehouse. So that was my idea, just a horrible treehouse. And then Terry started drawing, and I watched him over a couple of hours just gradually put together this beautiful multi-layered treehouse, which you can see not so well on the Australian edition here. Oh, there you are. There's the inside cover. That was one half of it. And he not only added those things, but he added magical levels, like an entertainment, a games room, a catapult at the top, a marshmallow machine that could follow you around and fire marshmallows into our mouths, and a TV on legs, and bedrooms, and far more than you'll notice that I asked for. And I said, wow, that's too good. It's too good for a bad treehouse. Why don't we take kind of that idea and we'll make it, I counted up the levels. There was 13 levels. I said, why don't we call it the 13-story treehouse, and you and me will live in it, and we'll be trying to write a book, but we can't write the book because there's all this really funny, crazy stuff happening around us. And we'll have our publisher, who in real life is a really nice person. In fact, she's not a man with a big nose. She's a lovely lady with quite a normal sized nose. And she never yells at us. We always work out our deadlines very agreeably. But I said, let's make the publisher a really big, huffy, puffy man, like one of my favourite stories, The Three Little Pigs and the Big Bad Wolf. And you'll know that story would not be as much fun without a big bad wolf huffing and puffing and threatening to blow their house down. So that's what Mr. Big Nose is in the treehouse. He's the big bad wolf who threatens to not blow our house down, but to send us back to work in the zoo, dressed up as monkeys when the monkeys are on their breaks. Which came from an experience I had in the UK on one of my very first author tours there many years ago. The publishers had a prize to work at the London Zoo. You could be a zookeeper for a day. Some of you might have done this.
Yeah.
And a lucky reader won the chance to do that program with me for the day. And I actually haven't had a desire to be a zookeeper. I thought, well, this will be interesting, I guess. But when I was there mucking out the giraffe cage, and there was giraffe poo everywhere, and there was hay, and it was all flying around, getting in our nose, and I'm spading out this stuff. I was thinking, oh, this is dumb. I never wanted to be a zookeeper. This is the worst job in the world. It was quite a fun day, really. But I remember I got into trouble from the zookeeper because we were standing in the penguins enclosure, helping to clean that out, and two little girls on the other side of the fence said, "Excuse me," they thought I was a zookeeper. They said, "What do penguins eat?" And I said, "Oh, they eat ice cream. They eat ice cream and fish, and they love fish-flavoured ice cream." And the zookeeper looking after us heard me telling the kids this nonsense. And she said, "That's not true. They don't eat ice cream." And I went, guess I'm just not cut out to be a zookeeper. But that's what I do. I cannot answer a question sensibly most of the time, especially when I'm asked it by a child. I'll make up something and see how long I can string them along before they go, "That's not true. You're just making that up." And I'll go, no, it is true. They love fish ice cream. You know, there's penguin fish ice cream shops all over the world. And I go, "Really?" And I go, yeah, I've been to one and I've eaten it. Have you not eaten fish ice cream? It's horrible. But the penguins seem to like it. So I'm getting off the track a bit, but that's why the zoo thing is in there. So you can see a book is built up from lots of different places and accidents. Terry drawing a better treehouse than I thought. So that's how that first book came together. And we got our book written in the end by writing about all the stuff that was happening when we weren't writing our book, which is also kind of true in real life. So then the kids in Australia loved it straight off. They just said, we love this treehouse, we want to live in it, and are you going to write any more? And I thought, yeah, I'd like to write another one. I said to Terry, should we write the 14-story treehouse? And he went, yeah, that seems a bit mean after you've given 13 levels just to add one more. I said, yeah, why don't we double it and we'll make a 26-story treehouse? Do you think you could draw that? And he said, yeah, I'll have a go. And he did. He drew a beautiful 26-story treehouse, there's the whole thing right there. He rose to that challenge. We came up with another 13 levels. And this is one of the things I love to do, which is to just make a list from 1 to 13 and then challenge myself to fill up that list with any idea I can possibly think of. Now, often when I'm trying to get 13 levels, I'll actually write about 50 or 60 different levels. And some of those won't be very good, but some will give me the clue to get to something really funny or really different or really useful for the plot. So that's my particular thing. And that's how one of the places where I get ideas, generate lots and lots and lots of ideas. And about 20% of them will be good. But you only get the 20% if you generate 100% or 80% of nonsense. And if Terry and me are sitting in a room, a lot of nonsense is going on. And Jill, my wife and editor and the character in the book, she'll often be going, actually, that idea is good. And I go, which one? Which one? Oh, that one back there. Yeah. So that's how we get the ideas, by generating a lot, by playing. And we just play with words, we play with ideas. We try to think up things that are surprising. Like I love to surprise the reader by doing the opposite to what they expect. So the treehouse in general is the opposite to what a normal treehouse would be. But if anything's going on in the treehouse, I try to make it something, the last or the worst thing that could possibly happen, such as Terry washing his underpants in the shark tank, and then the shark's eating his underpants and getting sick. And then I think, oh no, what would we do? We will call Jill because she knows all about animals. And then the worst thing is she makes us jump into the tank with her and do open shark surgery. So that's a good clue. If I don't know what to do, I'll think, what's the worst possible thing that could happen next? And that's how we get to the 130-story treehouse, which is the worst possible thing is that a flying eyeball from outer space comes down, shines a kind of laser light on us all and sucks us up into itself and takes us to another planet. Now, you could think, cool, and they do, Andy and Terry and Jill do think, cool, we're going on an intergalactic adventure. And I thought, how could that go wrong? And when they get there, they're in a dome, and there's lots of other domes with other aliens. And I think, okay, maybe we're in a zoo. That's not good. We're now specimens in an intergalactic zoo. And then I thought, what's even worse is that, no, it's not a zoo. You are contestants in an intergalactic death battle, and you have to fight the other aliens until only one of you is alive. I thought that's a problem. And that's where I get excited as a writer, to try to solve that problem, to make it like it's a bad problem, because we've got Jill with us. She loves animals. She loves animals of all species, whether they're Earth or from other planets. So she can't possibly kill anyone. And Terry and I are not as brave as we would want you to think. We don't want to fight anyone. So how do I get out of that? And I'd had an idea for a while that we have a soap bubble blaster that just blasts millions of soap bubbles into the air. And that's where I go, it's time to bring that into the treehouse. And at a certain point, we can blast it and sting the eyes, because you've all had a bath, you've all had a shower, and you've washed your hair and the soap bubbles have gone into your eyes. You know how much that stings. So I figured soap bubbles would be a useful weapon against eyeballs. So this is partly how I go about writing. It's a series of problems, and I just love solving problems and creating problems and solving them. And that's what you'll find all the books really do, is they solve one problem. Yay! We've stung the eyeballs. We're free. Oh no, we're not. We haven't got any rocket boosters to get off the planet. Oh, if only we had the rocket boosters that the 4 free rocket boosters that I got when I bought a yo-yo, says Terry, in the most ridiculous plot development ever. But he didn't get them in time. But yay, here comes Bill, the intergalactic postman, to deliver the rocket boosters. So my solutions to the problems are always ridiculous solutions, but the characters are taking them very, very seriously. So we write the books quite seriously, even though the problems are ridiculous. And that's one of the ways I think we get people to believe in the world and believe in the characters. So as you know from my time as a zookeeper, I want to try to get people to believe impossible things. And that's what our books are. Impossible things that seem real.
Well, you've certainly got a huge following in this country now as well. It's amazing. Everyone loves them. They're really so popular.
It's amazing because we never expected that. For many years, we were just writing for Australian kids, and our books, even here, were considered pretty stupid and kind of rude and sometimes violent. And so we kind of thought, we're just a kind of Australian thing, and the English people, who are all lovely, well-behaved, non-violent children, very polite, they would never understand or appreciate this stuff. But the Treehouse is not that bad, actually. We're much nicer in the Treehouse series. Recently, some of our early books have been published in the UK. I think Just Annoying and Just Stupid, both published there. And that's some of the more crazy, out of control stuff. But the Treehouse is our favourite because it's kind of a blend of fantasy, comedy, and adventure. And who taught me that was an English author, Enid Blyton, who was my very, very favourite author as I was growing up. Fast-paced adventures in magical, funny, slightly scary lands, up the faraway tree, into the wishing chair. Those were the things I loved. And amazingly, I think it's what we're kind of doing now. And there's no adults in any of those books.
Perfect.
Not even us. Yeah.
Well, there's loads of questions and comments coming in. So okay. Yeah, can we start? So Sophie and Zach, how many pairs of, and this may be a typo, I don't know, but infallible underpants does Terry have?
I think they mean inflatable underpants.
I think so, but I didn't want to.
Infallible underpants is great. How many does he have? Well, he's used them a few times over the last 10 books. I actually haven't counted. He has them as often as we need them. I think they helped get them out of when they were looking after the children, Mr. Bignose's grandchildren, in 91 Story Treehouse. They were trapped under the water. They got into the submarine sandwich. And the kids, what's the worst thing that can happen? The kids ate the submarine sandwich while they were traveling, and then they used his inflatable underpants to blast themselves out of the water. So look, it appears he has many pairs of inflatable underpants. And of course, in the last book, 117 Stories, we actually put an underpants museum into as one of the levels. Because whenever you go to the museum, they never show you the underpants. Like there's everything else is in the museum, but where are the underpants? So we made a museum dedicated to underpants.
So Thomas says, after you and Terry, who's your favourite character?
After you and Terry, who's your favourite character? I'd have to say Jill, because in real life, Jill and I, as I said, are married. We share a great sense of humour. Although Jill's doesn't like the humour to go too stupid. Terry and I can get a bit too silly, and Jill will go, look, I think you're amusing yourselves now, but I don't understand even what you're laughing about. And she'll rein us in just a little bit so that the general reader can get the joke. But she's a lovely, kind person in real life. I sometimes see her trying to help a little worm across the footpath with great care. So that's why she has this thing for animals in the books. And she did grow up in a house full of animals, and she wished she had the ability to talk to them. So I said, I'm going to put you in the book and give you the ability to talk to animals. So that was me being a nice husband to Jill, and reward for all the books that she's worked on, because there is a lot of work, and each book takes 12 months to work. So there's a lot of rewriting, a lot of reformatting. Terry does the wrong pictures sometimes, and so sometimes his wrong pictures are actually funnier than what we wanted, and then we'll rewrite the text to incorporate the funny pictures. Sometimes they're flat out wrong, so I have to ask him to redraw them. Sometimes we just notice there's too many pictures of Andy and Terry talking or fighting, And so then we have to shorten all that just so we can make the book just flow really fast and be funny and not boring for the reader.
Mm. So where is your 130 story treehouse?
Common question, but you'll find it, well, in the latest book, you open the pages and you get sucked up that tube on page 5. So just make yourself, open the page 5, make yourself small and black and white, and just get in the tube and it will suck you up and you'll find yourself in the treehouse, no matter where you live. So
Yeah.
that's easy.
That is easy. So
We're a COVID-free zone too. We don't allow COVID in the treehouse. So.
Hello, Andy. Why is the cat called Silky from Max?
I believe Silky is the name of an Enid Blyton character. I think it might be one of the Pixies in the Faraway Tree series. Now, some of your readers might be able to correct me there, but Silky is definitely an Enid Blyton character, and Jill named the cat after that character.
Mm. Yeah. So, question from Nathaniel and Max in Hearts, age 7. Did you struggle to come up with 130 levels? We struggled to think of just 13. Can you let us how you came up with the ideas? We're huge fans. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now that was Nathaniel and
where are we?
Sorry, we lost.
And Max in Hertfordshire.
Nathaniel and Max, thank you very much. Yeah, as I said, it takes a year to write each book, and probably a month of that year is spent making lists of levels, which isn't hard for me to come up with, but it is getting harder to make up levels that we haven't used before. So it's sometimes you'll think of a level, but you go, oh, it's very similar to a level we had earlier, and I don't want to repeat anything if I can help it. So it's taking a little longer these days to find 13 brand new levels. But because it is getting harder, you get more creative and you get more desperate and you get more random in order to solve the problem. And when you hit the right level, you just go, yes, that's something we haven't had before. And the right level will start to suggest a whole plot. In this latest book, we had the Extraterrestrial Observation Centre. And I just thought, oh, it'd be really, I could imagine Andy and Terry sitting there with a big telescope trying to see extraterrestrial life. And that will give me an opportunity for Terry to draw space scenes, which he does really well. And then I thought, in fact, an early draft was Terry was sending signals out trying to attract extraterrestrials to the tree, and that's what attracts the eyeball. But as we went through the draft, that kind of got a bit complicated, and in the end, what happened? I was being annoyed by a fly, because I write these in the Australian summer, which is around January, February. And there was a blowfly around my head and I was trying to swat it. And I thought, annoying fly. That could be an idea for Andy. He can't write the book because there's an annoying fly. And when I was growing up, we used to have these things, I don't know if you still have them, they're called bug catchers. They're kind of a transparent thing, probably still around, but they're very exciting in the 1970s. And you go, gotcha. And I thought Andy could trap the fly. And I thought, solves the problem of the annoying fly after blasting it with a cannon and a number of other inappropriate ways. But then Jill comes over and says, what are you doing to that poor fly? How would you like it? And Andy goes, as if anyone's going to put me in a big transparent dome. And I thought that's when we bring the eyeball down and they suck them up and put them in a dome. So it's kind of payback for Andy there.
Yeah.
And yeah. So yeah, coming up with the levels generates the idea and the theme of each new book.
Yeah. Okay, I've kind of got two questions from Sophie and Zach. Do you have a man-eating shark as a real pet? And has a shark ever eaten your underpants in real life? So twofold question there.
Do I have a shark as a pet? No, I don't. But I do love sharks. I love watching documentaries about sharks. They kind of scare me. And things that scare me are often very good subjects for writing because you've got a reaction to them. So no, I don't have a pet shark. And what was the other part of the question?
Have they eaten your underpants? Sorry, I've moved on. Has a shark ever eaten your underpants in real life?
No, not my underpants. They've only eaten Terry's underpants. I'm not so dumb as to put my underpants on a stick and put them into the shark tank trying to wash them. That's Terry. You've got to remember the difference between me and Terry. I'm smart. He's not smart. Don't get us confused.
Okay, Orlando says, if you could only pick one level of yours, which one would you pick? Love Orlando. I'm a Superstar fan.
Thanks, Orlando. Well, it's always hard for me because we do have, of course, the Andy Land level where all the spare clones that we made in 65 Story Treehouse. At the end of that book, we'd made lots of Terry clones, lots of Andy clones, and lots of Jill clones. And I realised I had a little problem here. What do I do with all the clones? I can't just, put them in the rubbish bin. That would be cruel. But I thought we'll make a land. So I made Andy Land, where everyone is called Andy and everyone's like me. And I thought that would be a lovely, peaceful, wonderful, orderly land. And then I thought, what do I do with the Terrys? I'll put them in Terry Town. And that's just crazy, mad land. And Jills all live in Jillville, where I think they're having the best time because it's just lots of Jills having adventures with lots of different animals. But then, I got thinking Andy Land, it's where everyone's my friend. Except when they're not, when they find out that Terry is the star of the movie in 78 Story Treehouse, they admit that they like Terry better than me. And that was a very sad moment.
It was interesting. The same question was asked by Peter, who's 7, but comes from Yorkshire. And I just flagged that up because that's a little way from here. So lovely to have someone so far away, which is brilliant.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay. Okay. So Kathy says, what do you have on your tattoos?
Oh, I have lots of characters from books that I've loved. Let's see. There's someone you'll know there. If I can get the angle right, that's Alice. Alice from Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. She's drowning in the puddle of tears there. And just above her head is 3 blind mice running along. And who else do we have? Oh, one of the flying monkeys from The Wizard of Oz, because they really scared me as I was growing up. So that's a book that I love, The Land of Oz. Interestingly enough, where are we? There's a flying saucer sucking up people into itself, which is just a funny science fiction image. Don't know if you're getting that. There's a very well-dressed skeleton there. Lots of nutty stuff, including some dogs with laser eyes. So I think they may have been the inspiration for Terry having laser eyes and our flying eyeballs having laser eyes in this book. But yeah, I know a tattooist. He's my friend, and you should never have a tattooist as a friend, because it's just like drawing on each other in school, except he's got a tattoo gun, and it's here forever.
Yeah.
But it's fun. I love pictures. I love books. And that's another place where the ideas for the levels are coming. I'm reading lots of books all the time, fiction books, non-fiction books. I'm watching movies that excite and inspire me. I'm keeping my eyes open as I walk around the world, and when I visit countries like the UK, it's all a bit different, and that's where you can really get some fun stuff happening.
So Helena says, where's Terry?
That's a very good question. He lives about an hour and a half away from me. We live in Melbourne, Australia, down the bottom of Australia, and at the moment it's kind of cool because we've been in lockdown for the pandemic, and you're not allowed to travel. Up until yesterday, you weren't allowed to travel more than 5 kilometres away from your house. And he lives about 70 kilometres away. So I'm totally safe. And this is the best year of my life because I haven't got Terry here wrecking everything and annoying me. So we're getting a lot of writing done this year. It's been great. But I think if I wherever he is, he should be already working on the 143 story treehouse, because we've started work on that for next year's book. So I gave him the manuscript last week, and fingers crossed he's going to do some cool drawings for it.
Good. So Imogen and Theo say, how old were you when you started writing?
I was very young. I was writing as soon as I could pick up a pen, and make fun of the books that I was reading, like as a kid, like my Dr. Seuss books, cautionary tales. My grandmother had a scary book of children who did the wrong thing. They disobeyed their parents, and it showed the terrible things that would happen to them. So that if they played with matches, their clothes would catch on fire. And one boy sucked his thumb, so a man with long red legs and a big pair of scissors came and cut them off. It was ridiculous. It's called Struvel Peter, if you want to have a look at it. I recommend it. But it was kind of scary and funny at the same time. And I used that as the basis for one of my first little productions, which was a get well card for my dad. He was sick at the time. I was about 6 years old. And I thought, I'll write him a cautionary get well card. And it said, "Dear Dad, get well soon." And he turned the page and it said, "Or you are doomed." And showed him being buried in the backyard, and worms and rats and everything attacking him. And he got better really fast. So that was my first successful written production. And then I was just writing, I was always doing that. And you'll notice that's the opposite to what a get well card should be. You're usually saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry you're sick. I hope you get well soon," sending you good wishes. I'm there at a very early age going, what's the opposite? And that will be funny. So I've never stopped doing the same trick, really. And then I was just writing things for my friends and family throughout primary school until I got a typewriter at the school fete, a big old Underwood 1920s typewriter, and I was fascinated by it. And I started learning to type. I taught myself how to type without looking. And then I started producing a magazine for all my school friends, which was a joke magazine, just with jokes and riddles and funny news articles about different teachers in the school and the ridiculous things they were getting up to and things that were happening in school. None of it was true, but everyone found it very amusing and funny. So I was always doing that. And when I became a teacher, when I was about 28 years old, I started doing exactly the same thing for all my students, and saying, look, you can have a lot of fun with writing. It's not boring at all. There's no limits to what you can think, and there's no rules, and you can write the most crazy stuff. And I want you to entertain each other with this stuff. So that's what it's always been about for me. So yeah. I was just lucky to find a useful application for it rather than just upsetting my father.
He took it in good part, did he?
He did. And it became quite a thing in our family. My sisters found it amusing. And then whenever anyone was having a birthday, or it was Mother's Day or Father's Day or get well cards, we'd all write each other threatening greeting cards. It became a tradition.
Oh, lovely. So Quinn says, how many body parts did you lose in the chainsaw juggling level?
Quite a few. I've lost all of my fingers and my arms and my legs and my bottom and my nose. But we have a really good super glue factory down in the underground laboratory, and we're able to glue it all back on. So it's no problem at all if you want to come and juggle chainsaws. Don't worry about your fingers. Everything can be fixed in the treehouse. So don't do it in real life, though.
Sophie and Zach say, is the person behind you a family member?
Not exactly. No.
Someone you fell out with.
I didn't know there was a skeleton behind me. I don't know who that is. He's a very well-dressed skeleton. I think that's a theme. I like skeletons who take pride in their appearance. And he's also got a clown wig, which makes him look a little bit like Terry Denton. But no, I pick up interesting objects as I go through the world, and when I travel, I'm always on the lookout for something unusual, because I know if I can find that type of thing, it's going to feed my imagination. So this is another answer to where the levels come from, where the story ideas. You can feed your imagination the same way as you eat food to feed your body. You can pick up things, and I've been obsessed with eyeballs lately. As I was writing the book, there was lots of eyeballs. I made a jar full of eyeballs, and millions of little eyeballs I love playing with them. They're bouncing them, and I don't know how that's helping me, but it kind of just excites me. I got really big eyeballs. There's giant inflatable eyeballs. They're nicer than inflatable underpants. But just having these things around is really fun. This has got nothing to do with the books. That's just a killer koala from outer space. I like getting regular toys and then adding little things to them and making them scary. Why? I don't know.
Okay, so Johnny and Will, what's your favourite silly joke? Have you got a silly joke you can tell?
Oh, yeah, that's easy. I learned it in grade 4, and we all thought this was the funniest joke in the world. And it was, why did the boy fall off his bike? And the answer is because his mother threw a refrigerator at him. Not funny at all, is it? No. That's a stupid joke, but that's why I liked it, because it's a joke about jokes. You're expecting a sensible or a witty answer, and you get this dumb thing that mother threw a refrigerator. But I spent a lot of time thinking, why would the mother throw a refrigerator at her child? What could you do to make your mother that mad that she would pick up the refrigerator? So I just love that joke because it's a non-joke, and there's plenty of those in our joke book.
Yeah,
As the,
which everybody gets free with the 130.
ah,
Brilliant, brilliant. So lots of jokes here. Yeah,
what a great bookshop you are, Chorleywood Books.
yeah, absolutely.
That's it. Yeah, you'll find that joke in the Treehouse joke book, and yeah, there's lots of jokes. In fact, a lot of our stories are like that joke. There's no point to them, and that's why they're fun.
Yeah. So Oliver and Finley ask, did you really get abducted by a giant flying eyeball?
Yes, it's all true. Absolutely true. I truly believe that we did. And you can see the evidence in the book, because Mr. Big Nose would not let us publish anything that's not 100% true.
Of course.
It was a lot of fun, but I do recommend keeping your eyes on the sky at all times, because you never know when they're coming or where they might take you. But if it could be an intergalactic death battle, so make sure you've got a weapon of some type. Even just a pen would be good defense against an eyeball. Always have a pen with you, and always have a notebook. That's another thing I'll always have with me, and always just be scribbling down any random idea. You'll see it's not terribly neat or tidy, and that's where the first drafts of all my stories start. In fact, there's notes falling out of the book. Let's look at that one. There's two ideas on this one. Andy's wobbly tooth. Now, you might remember in the 104 story Treehouse, Andy has terrible toothache. So that's come from a memory just of wobbly tooth. And Jill will never let me do this one, but it's Jill's doodle animals. She's got these doodle animals, and they've lost their doodles, and she doesn't know where to find them. Mm-hmm. That will probably never make it as a story, but you've heard it here.
Heard it here first. Yeah, here we are. Yeah. Okay, Karuna says, what's your favourite ice lolly flavour?
Oh, ice lolly. We don't use that term in Australia. Is that like an icy pole?
Yeah, it's not ice cream, but it's an iced, lolly. Frozen. Yeah, not ice cream, but sort of sugary water, I suppose, coloured sugary water.
Yeah, we call them icy poles. You call them ice lollies?
Ice lollies, yeah.
That's much nicer. What's my favourite flavour? Usually I go for banana or chocolate or strawberry. I'm kind of a bit boring. I love banana chocolate, and I really love chocolate banana, and chocolate banana is even the best.
So Layla says, has there ever been a time when you haven't had a good idea?
There's been plenty of times in real life I haven't had good ideas and I've done them. But in the books, no, there's no idea that's bad, because even a seemingly bad idea can be a stepping stone to a good idea. And this is what a lot of people don't understand about being creative. And being creative is not special. We're all creative. When we have a problem to solve and we really, really want to solve it, we start thinking of ways that we can do it. And some are useful and some are just plain silly. Like there's a chocolate on a high shelf and you're not tall enough to get up there. You might think, how am I going to solve this problem? Get a ladder. Don't have a ladder. How would you solve it if you didn't have a ladder? You might get a long stick and a bit of chewing gum and stick it on the end. And so you're starting to become creative. And the stick and the chewing gum might not be the solution, but that may suddenly make you remember, oh, I've got a grabinator. Which is another level in our new book, which I really like. The grabinator can grab anything from the treehouse. It can even grab itself and pick itself up. I forget the question now.
I think you've answered it.
Oh, do I never have? No,
No.
there's no such thing as, and even when I don't have an idea, that's how the entire Treehouse series started. I said, we've got no ideas. Let's write a book about having no ideas. And off we went. That was an idea.
Yeah, yeah. So Harry and Ella say, why are there so many penguins in the book?
Because Terry likes drawing penguins. And we had an ice skating pond in the 26-story treehouse, and he drew it with penguins all skating around and having a nice time. And then every subsequent book, he just had penguins around here ordering pizzas and driving cars. And so he just does that. And he would probably tell you, because I like drawing penguins. And if you say why, he would say, I don't know. And I love watching him work. He just draws, and he can't actually tell you why he's doing it. He just feels good to him to do it. And that's incredibly useful for me as a writer to work with, because I probably need a little more reason for things, but with his randomness, and then my reason comes in on top, that's how we make the stories.
You like penguins? Do you like penguins?
I don't. I'm agnostic about penguins. I don't love them as much as everybody loves them, because I've been up close to them, as you know, at the London Zoo, and they smell. They smell like old fish. So they're not as cute as everybody thinks.
Okay. From Thomas, what is the favourite animal that Jill owns? What is your favourite animal that Jill owns?
Well, that's very complicated. What's my favourite? Well, I think it would be the frogpotamus in the 39-story treehouse. The frogpotamus being a combination of frog and hippopotamus that hides up in trees and jumps on people's heads. And, well, it doesn't jump on their heads, it swallows their heads whole in its horrible mouth. And Professor Stupido uninvents them, but then Terry draws them back, and that frogpotamus goes to live at Jill's house, and she's very happy about that.
So Will, aged 8, says, how many books have you written?
Round about 30 books, all up with Terry. Going back to 1997, we did a book called Just Tricking, and then that was about a kid called Andy, who's a practical joker who plays jokes on everybody, but the jokes are always kind of not that funny, and they always backfire horribly on Andy. So they're short stories. And then in the next book, he became just annoying. And he was just annoying everybody, and then just stupid, just doing stupid things. Now, Terry was involved in all of those books, but at that point, he was just on the edges of the books. He would just do random drawings all around the edges. And after 4 or 5 of those in Australia, I said, let's meet every week and work together, and we'll sit in the room and we'll come up with the ideas together. We'll make each other laugh. And that's how we started generating the stuff that eventually became the Treehouse. So we wanted to tell the story together, not just me write the story and then his pictures illustrated, which is probably the more conventional way that most writers and illustrators work. But we've had many periods. Sometimes we go away for a week and just write and draw for 12 hours a day and get lost in it. We don't do it anymore because it became exhausting. and we kind of know now how each other works. And I know that he can draw anything. So I love coming up with ridiculous things now. Like, I bet you can't draw this. And he always does.
So Layla says, if you could bring any book character to life, who would it be?
Ooh, this is a very good question. Any book character to life? I'm trying. Well, I do have a great fondness for the story Pinocchio by Carlos Collodi, the Italian folk nightmarish fairy tale. Um, so that's come into my head. I think I'd like to see Pinocchio, but not when he becomes a boy. I want to see the naughty puppet version of him because he gets into such wild trouble. And if there was one book that I do think has an influence over the Treehouse series, it's probably Pinocchio. And astonishing things that happen in that story. So I would recommend that. Do you sell the original Pinocchio
Yeah,
in Chorleywood?
yeah, we
Yeah,
do.
not the retellings. I don't want them softened. I want the
The harsh one.
original. And it's a lot of fun. And the narrator in that book is having a lot of fun too. He's talking to you and telling you a story. And that's something that we do in the Treehouse very much. I'm addressing the readers. So that's another thing I got from that book.
Mm. Another Thomas says, are you going to add an underwater orchestra level?
Underwater orchestra, very nice, very nice. Well, I haven't thought of it until now, but I'll write it down on one of my notes here, underwater orchestra, and I'll start thinking. Orchestra, have we got any sort of orchestra? Yeah, this is what I have to do now. I have to think, have we had an orchestra in the Treehouse? I don't think we have. We've had the noisy level where Terry's noisy hat and he's banging a drum and stomping around in his extra noisy shoes, but that's not really an orchestra. So thank you.
Great
Orchestra.
idea. Great. In the next book, is there going to be an ice cream level? That's from Karuna.
We already have an ice cream level. We have Edward Scooperhand's 78 flavour ice cream parlour with 78 different flavours of ice cream. That came in the 26 story Treehouse. We are going to see Edward Scooperhands come back in 143 story, and also Mary Lollipoppins, who runs the Lollipop Shop. And something very special is going to happen between those two robots, but I can't tell you any more.
Okay. So you started writing another book now. So when can we expect to see that? Is it going to be published in Australia and the UK at the same time?
I think so, yes. We've managed to bring them together now, which is really exciting. Because they used to be published 6 months, 12 months afterwards in the UK, and for a time they weren't even available in the UK. So I'd meet people who came out from the UK, and they would carry many copies of the book home to all the people. So I'm so happy it's coming out at this time, but it will take a year from now. So we've done the first draft, but that's just the first step, where Terry now needs to start doing some rough work. We need to refine some of the chapters and sort out some problems. And that will take us up till October next year. So we shall see you all in... there's 10 previous books, so hopefully you haven't read all of them, and that will keep you going until then.
Yeah, I think so. So Jai says, what's the silliest thing you've ever written about?
Apart from Terry's underpants, it's probably Terry's underpants. That's what everybody's interested in. And I was really proud of that, because it's a big epic story which requires great courage and bravery to perform the open shark surgery, and that led us into the whole 26 story Treehouse, one of my favourite books, because it's got the whole backstory of Andy and Terry and Jill, and how they all met, and how they were kidnapped by Captain Woodenhead, the pirate, and how they made the treehouse out of the bits and pieces of his ship after it was smashed on the rocks. So I mean, this is all really silly. The treehouse is ridiculous from the beginning to the end, and I'm very, very proud of it.
Good. So Faye says, were you good at English at school?
Yes, English came pretty easy to me. It was my favourite subject. I loved reading. I loved writing. But I had two ways of writing. Where I would write stuff for my friends and in class, and they'd be cartoons and they'd be silly and funny and creative. And when I had to write an essay for the teacher, I could do a very sensible, boring description of a tree or a mountain or something like that. So the teacher in those days never got to see my real writing voice. And it took me a while to learn how to do that in a book, because I thought, oh, books are supposed to be, got to be proper, got to be a proper writer now. I had to forget that idea and just go, I'm just writing for my friends and I'm writing for myself, challenging myself to come up with funny, silly things that I find interesting and that make Jill and Terry laugh. And then I can trust that it will probably make some of you laugh. So I don't know that. I just have to hope.
Yeah. So somebody here has been, thinking up some ideas. So Thomas says, I've had a few ideas. How about a dragon level, a tiny level, a romance?
I'll just stop you there. You've already picked two of the levels that are coming in the next book. There's going to be a deep, dark cave with a dragon living in it, but we've never seen the dragon because we're too scared to go in the cave. But we do see smoke and fire come out of the cave every now and again. And the tiny level is going to be in response to the, hang on, the big level. Have I done the big level yet? No, that's in the next book as well, yeah. We're going to have a super big level where everything is big, like pepper grinders are going to be enormous and bananas enormous and mice will be like monsters. So everything's going to be big, and it will be the treehouse after that. We'll have a super tiny level where everything is tiny, too tiny to see. So you're right on the money there. Let's. What was his third one?
A romance level.
You're even getting a romance in the next book, and I've already hinted about that.
Don't tell us any more. This could be a plot spoiler. Okay, it goes on. A snot level.
Snot level. We've seen Mr. Big Nose's nose explode, and a big nosausaur's nose explode. So I think we might have had enough snot for one series of books. So no, and there's a lot of mud in the new book. When they go to Blobdromeda, you'll see mud everywhere. And if you want, you can imagine that snot. You have my permission.
And the last one, a fly swatting level.
Well, you get that in this book. In fact, it starts with many pages of super fly swatting action, which is right there.
Yeah.
There you go. So great minds think alike. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay, so Eddie says, how many pairs of underpants does Terry have?
I don't know. That's a very personal question. I've never asked him. I don't even know if he owns any underpants.
I think we should know. Here's a nice one. Are you proud of your books?
Yes, I am. I do find them amusing. I find it amusing that we're getting away with it. This complete nonsense. And I guess what I'm proud of is that so many people are enjoying reading them and discovering a love of reading, and that's exactly what I wanted when I started out writing, was for people to feel the same excitement and fascination that I had when I was growing up reading Enid Blyton, Dr. Seuss, Pinocchio, weird science fiction comics. Books were always like this great place to go. And I'm thrilled that so many people are getting a taste for it through the Treehouse series, which is borrowing from a lot of those sources. You'll notice in 117 we have a character called Dr. Moose, who writes The Splat in the Hat. We have Boris Bendback, who writes Where the Filed Things Are, and Beatrix Potty, who writes The Tale of Little Peter Poopy Pants. So that's me kind of checking in with the things that I loved as a kid and passing them on to all of you. So that's what I'm most proud about. And in this year of lockdowns and enforced stays at home, reading becomes incredibly important because even though you're not able to go anywhere physically, mentally you can kind of just keep going and exploring vast lands, and in this case go all the way to Ibalia and to Blobdromeda and back again, and you don't need to go anywhere. So, thank you.
Fantastic. So, I mean, there are still so many questions and comments coming in, but I'm afraid our time is up. So thank you so much, Andy, for such a fun morning. What a great way to start the day, because of course over here it's we started at 9:30, it's 10:30 now. So in Australia, what time are you?
It's 9:30 p.m.
PM.
So, yeah,
exactly. So you'll be off to bed soon and we're starting our day.
I will be, but I'm going to do a little bit of writing first, because this is a very creative time of the night where it's quite quiet and dark and nothing much is happening, and that can bring out the imagination really well. So I shall keep writing, and I'll dream of you all having a great day. And thank you all very much for coming along today. It's been fantastic. And for all your good questions, and you, Shirley, for hosting this.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the fantastic audience. I mean, what great questions we had today. What great questions. Yeah. And just before we go, Andy, I just wanted to tell the audience about an event we've got with Cressida Cowell. She wrote How to Train a Dragon series. And
we were trapped a couple of years ago. Oh, okay. Is there a place called somewhere in the middle of the UK?
Birmingham?
No, it was
Manchester.
a dome. It was a dome, and the name has escaped me completely. But we got snowed in, and we had to abandon the event we were doing together. So we had
so you know Cressida, brilliant.
Yes.
So we've got an event, another Zoom event with Cressida Cowell on Thursday, the 12th of November at 4:30 after school. So children will be back at school, but you'll be able to watch it because it's after school. And this is her latest book in the Wizard of Once series, Never and Forever. And Cressida's amazing fun as well. So I hope everyone that you haven't booked yet, you'll get onto the Chorleywood Bookshop website and get booking for the Cressida Cowell event. So thanks, Andy, ever so much. It's been absolutely brilliant meeting you this morning. Such fun. And I know everyone can't wait to get on reading their book, their free joke book. And we've got lots of extra copies because they're going to make superb Christmas presents. What a great Christmas present. So thanks, Andy. Have a great night, creative night writing. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning. It's been a blast. Really good. Thank you. And see you all again soon. Bye now.
Thanks. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.